What's really good? What's really good? What's really good? Welcome back to another live with the Sanchez show on a Sunday. We got a lot to get into, but first and foremost, happy Mother's Day. Shout out to all the mothers. Salute to all the mothers out there. Hope you guys are enjoying your day. Shout out to all the supporters. I see the comment section already buzzing. I hope you guys checked in on your moms, bought them something nice, took them out today. If not, make sure you do it at some point very, very soon. Don't let the day go by without reaching out to your mom, letting her know how important she is, how special she is to you. With that being said, as always, I'm your host, Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in Two Games. Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast. We're live every Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. Been coming live to you guys on Sundays prior to the games, the NBA playoff games, kind of as a pregame. Today, Knicks look to close things out. Minnesota looks to stay alive against San Antonio. And then we get the draft lottery, which is going to be starting shortly. So I want to get into some of that. I know some of the questions are in regards to that. Also, keep in mind tomorrow night, 7 p.m., Real Fans, Real Talk. Make sure you guys are subscribed, locked in. We're back 7 p.m. tomorrow night. My brother Trip Young. Shout out to him. Shout out to Will Gordon as well. As I've told you guys in the past, Will just taking a little break. He has some things he had to take care of, but he's going to be back on the podcast very, very soon. So be on the lookout for that. Um, let's get into some things. Oh, also, I want to start off, like I said, Happy Mother's Day. Um, Prayers out to the family of legendary Major League Baseball manager Bobby Cox, who passed away. For those that may not be familiar, he was a integral figure in turning the Braves into the powerhouse that they were during the '90s. Won a World Series, multiple World Series appearances. Um, big reason that they won 14 straight division titles. So Bobby Cox turned the Braves around. You got to give him his praise and shout him out. And again, thoughts and prayers go out to his family as he passed away yesterday. I believe he was 81 years old. I could be off about the age, but I thought I saw it was 81. So shout out to him. Shout out to the family, I should say. But yeah, we got the lottery going on today, which is going to go right into Knicks Sixers. I guess we can start with Knicks Sixers. I don't think it was the first comment of the day, but I know it's one of the first ones up here. So let's get to it. Shout out to Squeeze. So the Knicks just keep doing their thing, man, looking good. What's clicking for them? Couple things. The most obvious is Karl Anthony Towns in this playmaker slash facilitator role, almost like a hybrid version of a Draymond Green. Now, granted, he's not dribbling, he's not getting into actions. He's kind of doing everything from a high post position, top of the key. But his ability to play make, his ability to shoot, his ability to drive are really giving defenses trouble. The Knicks, who have won 6 straight games, um, that has been the focal point of their offense. For me, I think the turnaround for the Knicks has really been rooted in their defense. In this 6 game winning streak, 5 of those wins, they held an opponent under 100 points. The one time they did give up 100 points was game 2 against Philly. Philly scored 102 points. So the Knicks defense has really been locked in. I thought they've done a great job on Tyrese Maxey. They've made some great second half adjustments. You look at the last 2 games, Paul George has come out hot and then really slowed down the rest of the game. So I think the Knicks have made some great adjustments defensively. I think offensively, yes, Cat, that's a big part of it. But I think it also is just the elevation of everybody's game. You look at Mikal Bridges. We knew OG was coming in great, and even though OG missed the last game, he's going to miss today. Mikal Bridges averaging 17 points a game in the series. Brunson being the closer, getting the contributions they've been getting from the bench. This has really been a total team effort from the Knicks right now, and that's why they're up 3-0 in this series. This is not to take anything away from Philly. I thought from jump this was going to be a tough matchup for them. I even mentioned it when I believe on Monday's show, right before game 1, when somebody had asked who had the more talented roster. And I said then I thought the Knicks had the more talented roster just because of their depth. I think you're seeing the effects of that depth right now. There's a situation where the Knicks are able to just wear you down over the course of a game. And so you might be able to hang with the Knicks for a quarter, a half, 3 quarters even. But at some point, the fact that you're relying on your starters to have to play 40 plus minutes and the Knicks can get rest for their guys. Keep in mind, Karl Anthony Towns has been in foul trouble the last 2 games. Karl Anthony Towns hasn't even had a great offensive performance in this series. Now, he's had a great, well-rounded performance, but he hasn't had a 30-point game, a 25-12 type game. He hasn't needed to be that because the depth of this team is so overwhelming, I think, for the Sixers. So that's been also a major factor. To me, those are the main components of all this. The elevation of playmaking through Cat, the defense, and then the depth. Being able to go to that bench, even now with OG out, creating more minutes. Deuce starts, Landry Shamet gets more minutes off the bench. You get a couple big threes from him. I think just overall, the Knicks are just showing you how good of a team they are. Um, they're better, they're deeper than they were last year. And I think it's going to be really exciting to see how this moves forward for the Knicks, especially for me. I'm a Knicks fan. So you guys already know I'm excited to see how this continues to grow. Let's see what else we got here. Shout out to Squeeze. Yep, we're gonna get to the we're gonna combine the lottery question. So I'll save that one. Kyrie says the Timberwolves Spurs series great. I think it goes 6 games with the Spurs on top. I love Minnesota's fight. I said the same thing, Kyrie. I had an original prediction of 6 games for San Antonio. Now, when I said it, I also mentioned Minnesota was dealing with some injuries, which they still are. No DiVincenzo. We didn't know what Anthony Edwards was going to look like. DeSomu's been out as well. So that played a major factor in it. I thought it was great Minnesota was able to steal game one. I think now we've seen the response from the Spurs. I think Minnesota wins tonight to even the series up. I just think that they're a little bit more of a veteran-laden team. They've been through these wars a little bit the last couple of years, so I don't think they're going to fold up now that things are getting tough for them. I just don't think they can win the series. The Spurs are overwhelming with their defense. Wemby has looked like an MVP in the series, and I don't know if Ant-Man is 100% back yet, and they need the Somu to get 100% as well to give him a chance. So, great question. I agree. I think it's going 6. Shout out to Pool. And shout out to Pool, your dad and your uncle. I remember the question you mentioned last week when they had the question about the better song between America's Most Wanted or Brooklyn's Finest. So shout out to the fam on that. James Harden shows up in clutch yesterday after people were killing him and the media saying he's washed. I think he is washed. I'm not gonna lie. Now, with that being said, Harden was better in closing minutes yesterday. And if you're Cleveland, you're a little bit of upset right now because you had an opportunity to win game two in Detroit, and now winning yesterday, you could have been up 2-1. Instead, you're back in the series, you're down 2-1. But ultimately, Harden was better yesterday 19 points, 7 assists, only 3 turnovers. That's been the key. He's got to be better there. Um, clutch shots, a big clutch 3-pointer in that game. So it was good to see, but I do think he's washed. He can't get around defenders. He has no elevation. He can't get the separation. So every shot seems like a very difficult shot. And I think he is washed up, but maybe that's just me hating because my team is on the other end of the bracket and we may have to face them. Uh, Shout out to Cleveland, though, man. I think they tie that series up tomorrow. I originally picked that series to go 7. I still think it goes 7. Detroit is a young, inexperienced team, and I still don't like the fact that so much of their offense is reliant on Cade having to create for other guys. At some point, that is going to come back and bite you in the ass, and I think it's going to happen at some point in these playoffs very soon. So that's one thing I'm paying attention to, but I think it's going 7 ultimately. Shout out to Squeeze. Steve Kerr returns on a 2-year contract. Unless they get the top 3 pick and trade it for Giannis and Butler comes back a month or 2 into the season, Warriors still a playing team. It's a lot. That's a lot to say there, though, Squeeze, because I think if they get that top pick, I don't know if they're going to just trade it away. And let me combine that, Squeeze, with this question from Kyrie as well. Eric, if the Warriors get the number 1 pick or top 3 pick, can we trust Steve Kerr to develop them or let them free? Warriors had 3 lottery picks fail. Well, Wiseman failed. Kuminga and Moody were solid. Man, so that's a great point as too, Kyrie, as well, Kyrie, because there's a little bit of a track record there, right? Steve Kerr hasn't really developed guys. So what do you do if you end up with the top 3 or top 4 pick? I think this draft really is about probably 5 or 6 players deep. I think the difference makers are probably in that top 3, but overall, I think the top 6 guys in this draft are really, really good. And I've said this in the past as well. I don't think this is a superstar draft. Like, I don't think any of these guys are going to come in and be a superstar in the way that we've just seen from Cooper Flag or from Victor Wembanyama. But I think you're getting a very, very good player. The tricky part here for the Warriors, I think, is who is the guy who could come in, right? Is it Cameron Boozer, who may be more polished guy and similar in playing style and ceiling to a guy you already have in the fold as like a Al Horford? Is it the Banza or Wilson or Peterson, a guy who may just need a little bit more time to develop, right? That's going to be the tricky part for the Warriors. And to the original question that Squeeze mentioned, I don't know if they just trade the pick away, Squeeze. I don't think they just going to say, all right, well, we have to make this move for Giannis. I think the Warriors are going to be a little patient here. Curry says supposed to be number at 6'11". Yeah, Debanza right now is looking like the guy at number one. If you're the Warriors, I think the tricky part is if you land just in the top three and not necessarily number one. Because then you got to see, is it a guy that's worth bringing in? What are the expectations in Golden State? Like, are you expecting, back to the original point there, Kyrie, and then Squeeze made it, are you expecting this kid to come in and be a contributor for a playoff team? Are you still just a play-in team who's happy to have this young guy? Um, I think early indications, the fact that Kerr takes a 2-year extension, Curry is 35 at this point. I think they're hoping to get number one. If they don't get number one and it's the Banta, I think then a trade is in play. And I don't know if it's for Giannis. It may just be another move or two to develop and kind of build out the roster around Steph and give it one more run. But it's tough to tell right now. I think until we know what the odds look like, until we see what the landscape of some of these trades, because there's a lot of moving parts right now as well. Keep in mind, Giannis's people were kind of watching how these playoffs play out because Giannis, New York has been the early indication that that's his number one destination. But with Boston being out now, we've already heard the rumblings. Could Boston get in the mix to try to go get Giannis? Atlanta has a lot of picks. They were a playoff team this year. Do they get in the mix to make a big trade, whether it's for Giannis or whether it's for somebody else? 38. Sorry, I was thinking he was like 36. Um, but I think, and Kyrie said also Thunder have a chance too. Yeah, Thunder could move up because they got the Clippers pick. I think ultimately it's just too many moving parts right now to know exactly what the Warriors would do with the pick. Early indications might be they trade it, but I think they're going to wait and see how this all plays out with the draft lottery process, with the playoffs, who wants out, who's demanding a trade, who's available, all those things. So there's a lot of moving parts, I think, for the Warriors. In terms of Kerr developing, we could criticize some of those picks, but then some of them, which it is what it is. They were just tough breaks. I mean, Wiseman, when they took him, he was the best big in that class. But what was it really saying? Because remember, that was also a class that elevated due to COVID. And Wiseman only had a handful of games at Memphis. So they didn't have much to go off of. They were just hoping off the raw potential and that he was the best big man. And roster wise, it made sense, right? They were a perimeter team with all these guards. So let's add a big to this and see if it works out. It didn't work out. Kuminga, I know you guys love Kuminga. I've said Kuminga is a very up and down player. Look at the Knicks series. He had moments, he had flashes, and then he had other moments where he wasn't playable. And Quinn Snyder even had to kind of limit his usage as the series went on. If you look at some of the moments on the court, they really couldn't hide him much on defense, right? He's a great athlete. With the right matchup, as I said, he can look great. If you're getting up and down, if it's a free-flowing game, he's going to get up and down the court. He's going to have some highlight plays. He's going to look great. But in a half-court structured game, because he doesn't shoot the ball well enough, he's very tough to keep on the floor. And then because he's not a guard and you get these matchups where he's against a big, he struggles sometimes. His rebounding numbers struggled as that series went on. His shooting numbers struggled. So I think there are moments with Kuminga where you look at him, you say, yeah, there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of potential there. But then there's also times where you look at him and say, yeah, he's still raw. It's still tough to play him consistently 30 minutes a night because you don't know what you're going to get from him. So to criticize Kerr for that one, I think, as I said before, him and Kuminga already had their little issues. It played out in the public eye, and that's why he wasn't on the court as much. But I also think there's that part of it where maybe Kuminga just isn't good enough just yet. Maybe he still just needs so much more that it couldn't happen with the Warriors. The Warriors were hoping to compete and contend, and maybe Kuminga just wasn't the right guy there. Moody is a good bench guy. Let's call it what it is. Moody isn't a difference maker. He's depth. He's a good guy to have off your bench, but he's not a difference maker. So the three guys we're talking about, none of those guys I think were going to be difference makers in turning the Golden State Warriors back into a title dynasty. They're looking for a difference maker. And that's why I said maybe if they get number one, they keep the pick and they feel like the Banta is the guy at number one. But if they end up with 2, 3, or 4, maybe they feel that's a piece that you try to trade for another guy. It's going to be a very, very interesting offseason because Giannis might be the guy everybody's talking about. There will be other moves. There will be trades to be made. And there will be multiple stars, I think, that are going to get moved this offseason because you're seeing the development of some teams that are younger that feel like they can contend right away. I don't think what Orlando did last year was just a random move. It was them feeling as a young team they're going to try to compete. Did it really work out? No. On the flip side, Atlanta has changed course. They feel Jalen Johnson's their guy, they might be in the market to bring in somebody to play alongside Jalen Johnson and try to elevate them. So there's going to be a lot of moves to be made. And the draft lottery, I think, is just going to be the first part of understanding what those next moves might be. Shout out to Kyrie. Shout out to Squeeze, too. I like that question a lot. Let's get this one. Squeeze, we're going to combine this, too, with Pooh's comment. And shout out to everybody on Instagram. I see people coming in and out the live on Instagram as well. What's your thoughts on the Lakers going crazy over the calls of the last game? You ever seen a team circle a ref like that? No, I have not. And I want to combine that with this question from Pooh. Lakers Thunder series is crazy because Lakers will hang for half, even all in the third. Then OKC goes on a blitz. SGA played good, but hasn't had that killer game. He may not need it. So, correct. SGA has been good. He has not been great in the series, but great has not been required of SGA, right? We're talking about 18 points, 22 points, 23 points. So he's had a good series. They've also won these games 18 points, 18 points, 23 points. So a lot of these games are over in the fourth, as Pooh mentioned. And then to combine the two, like I said, with Squeeze, I've never seen it. I think it's trash. It's corny of the Lakers, right? They're making this so much about the refs as if these games are close. Now, if you lose a hard-fought game, 2-point, 4-point, 6-point game, and then you say, hey, man, the officials were really one-sided tonight, I might agree with you. I might say, all right, I get it. But when you're getting blown out by 18-plus points every night and to blame the refs, it's not the refs' job to keep the games close for you. It's not the ref's job to now let you play as physical as you want to play, but then not let OKC play as physical. That's not the ref's job. And I think this is really trash and corny of the Lakers to approach this in that way, because I've always been of the belief that in order for you to be the champs, you have to beat the champs. Like, beat them. Not, oh, we just hung close, or not, we're looking for help. We need to go out there and beat them. We knew the Lakers could not hang with them from the jump. Am I saying the Lakers are supposed to throw their arms up and quit? No. But to look for the refs to help you just keep these games competitive, what are we really talking about at this point? Again, you've lost by 18 points, and then 23 points in game 3, right? In the regular season, all 4 games that you lost to them by an average of 29 points. Not one game through the 7 games you played, whether regular season or playoff, has even been competitive. And yet you're looking for the refs to bail you out, as if the refs are just supposed to call a bunch of random shit on Oklahoma City, and so that they're in foul trouble, so then that you could feel things are evened out. How about Austin Reeves play better? How about that? How about defensively you play better? They gave up 131 points yesterday, right? How about those things happen? Keep the game competitive. And then if you do that, then I can understand you being mad that, hey, maybe they got a little bit more of the whistles than we did. But right now, what are we bitching and moaning about? What are we complaining about? You can't even keep the game close. Shout out to Squeeze for the question as well. Kyrie said, Draymond has had a crazy week. First with Austin Rivers. I thought Austin cooked Green. Then Green's comments on Charles. Yeah, Draymond, this has been a terrible week for Draymond Green. Terrible, terrible, terrible week. First off, I want to see if he's going to take on the challenge of playing Austin Rivers one-on-one, because I think Austin Rivers will give him the business. But I want to see it. I want to see it. And if you're Draymond Green, you can't talk and pop all the shit you pop and then back down from the one-on-one challenge, right? That's one. 2, I didn't like the kind of jabs at Charles Barkley. I get the competitive banter and the competitive shit talking back and forth, but Draymond, no one has ever put you in the class of the elite power forwards. Even myself, somebody who's been a defender of Draymond, I've said people sometimes don't understand the impact he's made on this team, and sometimes people overlook what he's meant to this team winning championships. But you're not in the class with the Barkleys, with the Malones, right? With the KGs, with the Tim Duncans. You're not in Dirks, the fours, the best fours the game has ever seen. You're not in that class. So if you want to, joke back and forth with Charles, cool. But to make it seem as if like you're in some sort of level that he's not, or to say, oh, at the end of the day, none of us want to look like Charles in a Houston uniform. You look like that now. You actually, performance-wise, you look like that now. So what are we even talking about? Charles Barkley in the Houston uniform was still better than the current version of Draymond Green. What the fuck are you even talking about? So yeah, it's been a bad week for him, Kyrie. I saw Kyrie. You had also put this comment up. At this when we was talking about OKC, and I felt the refs was letting the Lakers rough up OKC. Yeah, I think the refs have tried to let them. They've tried to let them play, but again, you're begging to the refs, and you're getting blown out. You can't have it both ways. Draymond Green has for a while think he's above more than he is. He thinks the 4 rings makes him better. I agree, Pooh. I agree. Now, I've said many times, so I'm not going to change the stance. Draymond was very important to the Golden State dynasty. You have to keep in mind Draymond's impact defensively, right, which allowed them to play those lineups of depth because Draymond could guard multiple guys. We can never overlook that impact. So what made the Warriors special wasn't just the shooting. It was their ability to play these lineups where they could space the floor and have Steph coming off all these screens and pin downs, right? And all these other guys that were a threat on the floor. And Draymond made that work. And that's why I've always said, too, Steph being rated as the greatest point guard is always a tricky conversation because Steph, especially during their best years, was not the primary offensive initiator. If you look back at the Warriors and the way they played offense, a lot of it ran through Draymond being able to do handoffs off the ball screens, being able to hit guys in the corners. It was rooted in the fact that Draymond could add to the spacing while also being a very good passer. And then on the flip side, you could not attack Draymond defensively, right? You couldn't just, put him in pick and roll and let him switch. Well, you let him switch and he could play great defense on a perimeter guy. So there were a lot of things that Draymond brought to the table for the Warriors to be successful. It's not as simple as, he only had 8 points and 6 rebounds. Yeah, but look at his plus minus for the game. Look at his defensive impact. We saw it even now at his older part of his career. Look at those last couple possessions against the Clippers in the playing game. He's on the on-ball defender on Kawhi Leonard, getting stop after stop after stop to win that game. Does that mean anything in the grand scheme of things? No, it was a playing game, right? It's not going to elevate the legacy of the Warriors or Draymond Green, but it's just an example of what Draymond at his best was able to do. You could put him in the lineup and say, you're our center, and he's not going to get pushed around by any other big man. You can't put him in pick and roll. He's still a great defender. He's an elite rebounder, and he's a guy who can initiate offense so that Steph could actually come off ball and run off screens, run the baseline, and run you through multiple screens to get open. So Draymond was a great, great contributor to what the Warriors did and their success. We cannot overlook that. But that does not mean that now you're in the conversation with the greatest power forwards of all time. No, you've had a great overall career. You individually are not a great overall player, though. Those two things are different. He's the greatest role player maybe ever and one of the best role players. Yeah, there you could make a real debate that he's the greatest role player ever. And that's not a knock. That's not to be disrespectful. It speaks to what he did for that team, how he contributed to that team. We knew who the stars were. It was the Splash Brothers in the beginning. Then KD joined that mix, right? And that was another thing I didn't agree with Draymond, where he talked about Kerr kind of held him back and limited him. If anything, I think Kerr is actually the one who unlocked Draymond Green. They were not playing the lineup of depth prior to Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr introduced that to that team. Steve Kerr is the one who actually moved Iguodala to the bench, then brought him off as a super sub to now create those cross matchups and those mismatches with the lineup of depth, with all the shooting and athleticism on the floor, with Draymond at the top of the key initiating offense. So Steve Kerr actually created a role for Draymond in a way that he could be more successful as opposed to playing a traditional 4 or 5 role, because he couldn't do that. And that's why I think a lot of people always say in any other situation, Draymond would not have been this successful, because anywhere else where he would not have had the ball at the top of the key, initiating offense, and had to play a traditional 4 or 5 position, he would not have succeeded, right? He's not going to play with his back to the basket. He wasn't consistent enough in the mid range. He wasn't dominant enough in the paint to do any of those things. So we can't talk about you in that way. Steve Kerr did not limit you. I think if anything, Steve Kerr unlocked a role for you that most other people probably would not have seen. They would not have recognized your skill set and say, hey, we can use you in a way that will really throw off a defense and create mismatch nightmares. So I thought Steve Kerr was actually great for his career. And Poole, you're right. Greatest role player. Yeah, we can make that. We can make that distinction. Again, guys, make sure you are subscribed to the podcast. Shout out to everybody in the comment section. I see people on Instagram. I see the comment section buzzing. Shout out to everybody, man. Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast. We're live every Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. This week we will be back. We're gonna see what the schedules look like because the Knicks handle their business here. OKC handles their business. It's very possible maybe we don't even have games on Wednesday, so we're gonna see what's gonna play out. The lottery is about to come up. We're going to stay live because I want to give reactions to the lottery selections as they happen in the NBA. It's going to be a major, major off-season tipping point. A lot of things to pay attention to. Also, make sure you guys are locked in tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Real Fans, Real Talk. Shout out to my brother Trip Young. We will be live tomorrow. But yeah, this draft is going to be amazing. This lottery, I think, is going to be very impactful. A lot of movement is going to be generated from what happens in this lottery and where teams land. Just a couple of things to pay attention to. Oklahoma City, who's trying to go for back-to-back championships, has an opportunity to get a top 10 pick again. Right now, they're 1.5% to end up with the number one pick. Very long range odds, but there's a possibility they can move up, right? Right now, they got the 12th best odds, so they expect to be in the lottery. The Clippers could end with no pick, miss the playoffs. A lot of uncertainty around that team. Is Kawhi even going to be there? They might not have a pick at all. They need some help because, as I mentioned, Oklahoma City has their pick. Now, the Clippers could get a pick from the Pacers if that pick lands outside of the top four, anywhere from 5 through 8, I believe. Then it goes to the Clippers, which makes that dynamic crazy because the Pacers this year pretty much tanked it away. No Halliburton all year. They allowed Miles Turner to leave in free agency. But then they made this weird trade for Zubac, which I think Zubac with Halliburton is going to be good next year. But the reason I call it a weird trade is because they put very specific protections on this where they could still lose the pick. And so if you're the Clippers, if this lands anywhere from 5 to 8, this is a win-win for the Clippers if they're able to get that. On the flip side, if you're the Pacers, you may have really sabotaged an opportunity to add another good young player to this mix. And was the tank worth it? Was it worth tanking to just end up with Zubac? Because that's exactly how this could play out for the Indiana Pacers. The Milwaukee Bucks cannot get the number one pick. They will end up being in a lottery, but because of draft protections, that pick, the Hawks actually get the better version of that pick. So the Hawks are a team that has a 9% chance to end up with the top pick. Imagine the Bands are going to Atlanta with the young pieces they already got there. That would be a great landing spot. Obviously, people want to know if Golden State is going to get up that high. They got a 2% chance. Dallas, 6.5% chance. So there's some interesting. Dallas is another team I'm paying attention to. I actually want to see if Dallas lands in the top 6 because I think Darius Acuff is the perfect guard for Dallas for what they're trying to do. They're going to have Kyrie back next year. Will he be there all season? Only time will tell because I don't think the Mavs are a championship contender. And I do think that there will be some teams that will call about Kyrie Irving next offseason. Shout out to my man Gress. I see you. Yeah, he said Kawhi on the Knicks. Yeah, we got a version of Kawhi. We got OG. We got a better version of that. We got a younger version of Kawhi right now. But yeah, there's some intrigue, like I said, with this lottery, how the ping pong balls play out. Let's get to a couple questions. I know the lottery show is actually starting. We're gonna see when they start actually announcing what these what the pick order will be. Shout out to John. He said OKC. It's amazing how they can plug in players like AJ Mitchell and Jared McCann the last 2 games. They remind me of the Warriors before KD shrank the numbers. Yeah, and I actually think they're deeper than Golden State was. Golden State, and then the reason I say that, Golden State was deep, but Golden State was deep with veterans who had kind of had their moment and now had accepted their role. Remember, Sean Livingston was a great prospect before he had that terrible knee injury. Iguodala had already been a prior All-Star and accepted the role of coming off the bench. Guys like David West, Andrew Bogut. There were some guys there that were high lottery picks that had already kind of had miles and some years played, and they had accepted their role of understanding this is really about Steph, about Clay, and I'm here as a supporting cast member. For OKC, it's different though, because Jared McCain was a guy who was talked about as possible rookie of the year last year, and very young. AJ Mitchell has been great, a second year guy. AJ Mitchell is going to get a lot of attention this offseason because there's going to be people who are going to wonder if AJ Mitchell is on the trade block and could he be a part of a rebuild somewhere else? I think he's a phenomenal young talent. We talked about him earlier this season when he got hot out the gate. I remember the first month of the season. I think he was averaging like 24 a game start of the season. So OKC is so young. There are guys on this team that I don't think will be here long term, not because they're bad players. They just won't be here long term because the opportunity to go somewhere else, start, get big minutes is going to be there. Somebody is going to call Oklahoma City about some of these pieces because again, you can't have 12 guys that all require playing time. It sounds great, but this ain't 2K. You're not going to play 12 guys. And these guys' development will be stunted at some point if they're not getting enough playing time. So I think AJ Mitchell's a prime example of that, where he might be somewhere else next year. Yeah, shout out to my man Gress. I already know. Let's see what else we got in the comments section. Did we miss anything? I know they're getting ready to do the lottery with the ping pong balls. I'm also going to give you guys some of my picks for today. Shout out to the comment section as always, man. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast. We're live every Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. I've been giving you the second additional day on Sundays before the game starts. For next week, we'll kind of see what the schedule looks like. Because again, the second round, we might be moving on pretty quickly. We got the Knicks on the verge of a sweep tonight. We got Oklahoma City on the verge of a sweep tomorrow. The other two series are 2-1, but tonight, Minnesota, San Antonio, we're going to get a better idea of how that series is going. I think Minnesota wins tonight. Right now, San Antonio is a 4.5-point favorite. Y'all know me. I like to place a ticket. I'm on FanDuel. I'm going with Minnesota to win tonight to tie the series up. I expect a desperate Minnesota team who understands in order for them, I don't think if they go down 3-1, they could win this series. They need to tie this series up, and turn this into a best 2 out of 3 the rest of the way. So that's number one. I think also number two, the sense of urgency from Minnesota will be there tonight. They understand they won their game one. They've allowed Victor Wembanyama to kind of dominate the last 2 nights. I think that'll change a little bit tonight. Minnesota wins tonight. In the first game, I already said it, man. The Knicks are clicking. Right now, the Knicks and Oklahoma City look like the best 2 teams in these playoffs and the best 2 teams in the league. They look like they are headed towards each other in the NBA Finals. There's still a lot of basketball to be played between now and then. But my point being that I don't think there's anybody right now who's playing as strong as the New York Knicks. I know it sounds like a homer pick. You guys who subscribe to the show who know I'm a Knicks fan. Am I biased? Of course I'm biased about it. And the clock just came up. The reveal will be in the next 14 minutes, which is perfect time. And we'll be able to get that reveal in while we're still live, and obviously then wrap up before the game starts. But in terms of depth, in terms of execution, in terms of defense, I think the Knicks have played the best basketball right now of anybody in the playoffs. And Oklahoma City is undefeated, right? They swept the first round. They're up 3-0. They haven't lost a game. They haven't shown any chinks in the armor. I just think the destruction that the Knicks have been showing in these last couple games, the ease with they've been winning and how locked in the defense has been. As I said, 5 of their last 6 games, they haven't even given up 100 points. They just seem like the most complete team right now. No disrespect to Oklahoma City. They're the champs. Got a lot of respect for Oklahoma City. I'm just going by what I'm seeing from the Knicks. I think they've been very, very dominant. I think it continues today. They're 1.5-point favorites. It's odd because 2 nights ago when OG was out, I think the line had got to something like Sixers minus 3.5. I thought it was crazy at that point that the Sixers would be favored after their 2 losses in New York, after the Knicks were heavily favored in game 2. And now with the chance to sweep, we know OG isn't going to play today. We knew that already. There's no need to force OG to play today. But for the Knicks to only be a 1.5-point favorite in a place that, I mean, it's going to sound like Madison Square Garden South. It's going to be loud. It's going to be predominantly Knicks fans. You got a lot of Sixer fans who have already waved the white flag. They're down 3-0. No team's ever come back from down 3-0. What does Embiid do today? What does Maxey do today? Do they? I don't think they saved the season. My point being, I think it's over. The Knicks are going to win today, sweep on Mother's Day, give themselves an opportunity to rest up before this next round starts against Cleveland or Detroit. And so, as I started off by saying, this week we'll see how that schedule plays out so that we can come back with another live. Probably we're gonna go live Wednesday, and then we'll set out that second day. But Wednesday for sure, 7:30, man. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys are locked in. Send in your questions, your comments, your topics, anything you want to hear discussed. Shout out to my brother Trip Young. We are back live tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Shout out to Will Gordon. He's going to be joining the show very soon. Shout out to Terry Spain. We're bringing him back on the show very soon as well. He and I are collaborating on some UFL stuff this month in May. I will be at the DC Defenders versus Orlando Storm game on May 31st. So we'll be in the building. Be on the lookout. I'm going to go live from the stadium, as well as have some content and some interviews that'll follow that up. But right now, we just wait for the lottery. Let's see what other news we got. We got boxing coming up. Canelo's back. We talked about Benavidez had a destructive win last week. There's already early rumors that he may actually even go up to heavyweight. I know he called out Canelo, but it looks like he might be going up to heavyweight for a major fight with Usyk. That is on the table as well. So we're going to see how that plays out. Let's see what else we got, if anything, in the comment section. As always, make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you follow me on social media as well. Legend of Two Games, completely spelled out. And let's see how this lottery plays out. I'm gonna give you a couple teams too that I think that I would really be interested to see get the number one pick. Right now, the Wizards, the Pacers, and the Nets all have the best odds. The Wizards would be very interesting. They made the move already for Trey and Anthony Davis. If they get the number one pick, to add probably the Banza, I mean, would be a great course. They still got Alex Shaw. They got some young guys. Maybe that's the move, right? I've always said Caleb Wilson out of North Carolina is the guy who probably intrigues me the most, because I just feel like his athleticism, his love for the game, his intensity, you can't teach any of those things. You got to already have that. When you have that already, it makes it easy to want to develop the young man. So he's a guy that I really like as well. Darren Peterson, he's going to be one of the interesting guys in this draft. There's been stories that have started to come out with all the talk about the cramping during the regular season, and he talks about it being kind of attributed to creatine he was taking at the time, and then Kansas kind of just taking it easy with them to make sure there were no reoccurring issues with the cramping up and all that. I don't know about Darren Peterson. I'm not going to lie. I said after the tournament that I was not really wowed by him in the tournament. I thought his decision making was a little iffy. I thought his want to, you could question it. I watched a guy who in some of the biggest moments of the tournament game kind of just floated in and out the game. He seemed like a young man who seemed a little lost. For me, I don't like that. I prefer a guy who kind of has the killer instinct, who has the attacking instinct early on. That's something that I really love about Acuff. I think Acuff all tournament showed the leadership, the ability to just get downhill, the ability to want to take over games. That's something that I didn't see from Darren Peterson. So that'll be something to really pay attention to at the next level. Can he kind of transition away from that mindset? Can he get himself to view himself as a star who should be taking over games as opposed to sitting back and letting the game come to him at times? So there's a lot to digest with all these guys. Cameron Boozer, as I said, I think he's a great young talent. I think he's got the opportunity to be a very, very good player for a long, long time. Great genes. His dad was a great player in the league. Never, one of the top guys, never an all NBA guy, Maybe he's got one All NBA in his career, but not many. But overall, very sound, solid player, All-Star player multiple times. I think Cameron Boozer is going to kind of fall right in line with that. I've used the comp. I said his dad. I've said David West. I've said Al Horford, guys who just quietly every night can give you 19 and 9, right? Winning ball players. You can win a lot of games with those guys on the court. They bring more to the game than they take away from the game. They're not going to be guys who you gotta. I don't think you gotta overcoach Cam Boozer. He understands the game. He's got a high basketball IQ. He's going to be good. The question is, will some of these other athletic freaks, pause, will some of these other guys who are going to wow you during workouts, is that what's going to end up kind of bumping Boozer down further down draft boards? Or will people just say, no, the kid was just too sound, too fundamentally gifted, too much of a sure thing to not take? And that's where it's going to get tricky. The Banter and Peterson may go 1 and 2. I think Caleb Wilson's going to have some great workouts. He's going to kind of wow people, and he's going to put himself in that conversation where people are going to start to question, should he be one of the top 2 guys? Because again, I think all of the comparisons of Caleb Wilson to Kevin Garnett are real. I think they're real. His motor, his love of the game, his energy, his intensity, you see it every time he plays. And I just think he's a guy at the next level with just more, with better coaching, with focused improvement, is going to be an all-star within 3 years. He's my favorite guy. Him and A-Cup are my favorite 2 guys in this draft. Again, make sure you guys are subscribed to the podcast. We're live every Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. We're back. Real Fans, Real Talk. Make sure you guys are locked in, man. A lot of great things coming up this summer. And then this week, as we see what the NBA schedule kind of plays out, we will be live for a 3rd day. But let's see how it plays out. Again, happy Mother's Day. Hope everyone is enjoying their day with their mom. Hope all the beautiful moms out there are being showered with love today. Shout out to my mom. Shout out to my wife. Happy Mother's Day to both those beautiful women in my life. We're minutes away from this lottery. After the lottery, we're going to be wrapping up the live as we get ready for game 4 in Philly. Knicks get an opportunity to end this series. I think they ended today. Shout out to my man Ren. He just texted me. Yeah, good luck to the Wiz in the lottery today. Shout out to my man Ren, who's been in the comment section before. I know he tuned in on the live. I seen him. He actually just sent me a message. But yeah, let's see how this lottery plays out. An opportunity to change your franchise, an opportunity to fast track a rebuild for some teams. Again, how does this lottery affect Giannis? Only time will tell. How does this lottery affect the Warriors? I don't think Steph's going anywhere, but this lottery could put them in position to build a contender pretty quickly. How would this lottery affect the Dallas Mavs, who have the Rookie of the Year in Cooper Flack, and they get him the proper running mate, right? Whether A-Cuff, whether the guard from Illinois, or if they end up higher, maybe Peterson. So a lot of different scenarios play out here. The Grizzlies moved on from 2 of their guys last year, and Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson. Is this their opportunity to kind of rebuild very quickly around Ja? And then is Ja around, depending on where they pick? Maybe Ja could be a product of a trade if they feel like they can get their new face of the franchise through this lottery. So there's a lot, man. Like I said, the Pacers, they get Halliburton back. They made the trade for Zubac. They've got a really good roster. They were just in the NBA Finals last year. Now they're in the lottery. Can they keep their pick, though, is the question. Will they be in, that top 4, or will it go to the Clippers? The Clippers could be the biggest loser in all this, because if the Clippers don't have a pick in this lottery and Kawhi Leonard is gone, what does that do for Ty Lue's future there? What does that do for the direction of that organization who's been trying to solidify an identity in California for so long? So there's a lot of moving parts here. They're starting to announce who's there representing what teams. We're minutes away from the lottery being officially announced. The Miami Heat, another team, super low chance of moving up, but they're trying to see how high they can get. Shout out to my man Ren. He said, "Yeah, the lottery and the draft are his playoffs." Yeah, the Wizards. It's been tough for the Wizards. It's been very tough for the Wizards, but I do think they did some great moves this past season by getting Trey Young, by getting Anthony Davis. I think that's the proper way to use your salary cap leverage. They were in a situation where they knew already they're never going to attract the marquee free agents. Um, the Wizards just never done that, and so having to make the trade and use and leverage what you have was the right thing to do. And so I got so thrown off. I just saw Scott Perry, former Nick executive, who's the front office exec for the Kings. That's the Kings ain't going nowhere. Scott Perry's a terrible exec. I don't know why Vince Carter's there representing Brooklyn Nets, but okay. But the Brooklyn Nets, they had 5 first-round picks last year. John Wall, they're representing the Wizards. He was the last number one overall pick back in 2010. Great career there as well for him. But for the Brooklyn Nets, this is a big opportunity. The Nets had 5 picks in last year's draft. I can't tell you one guy on their team. Like they had 5 picks, and I mean it was a good draft, but they had none of the impact guys, none of the impact selections, and so here they are again with tied for the best odds to get the number 1 pick. They're tied with the Wiz and the Pacers, and as they get ready to announce it, I kind of hope. I'm gonna say I hope out of all the teams, I hope the Wiz get the number 1 pick. So Hornets at 14, that was expected. Like I said, they had a 0.5% chance of moving up into to that number 1 spot. The Miami Heat, so it's going as expected right now. The Hornets and the Heat. This spot at 12 should be OKC unless something changes. Yep, OKC. At 11 should be Golden State if it stays true. So Golden State stays at 11. Not a big pick as we talked about. They didn't move up. This would be the Bucks at 10. So far, staying true. There hasn't been any change for the Bucks. That's not what you want to hear. But the Bulls should be here at 9. This is the first real change. The Dallas Mavs moved down a spot. They had the 8th best odds. They finished at 9. So the Bulls are moving up. The Hawks at 7. So the Bulls are moving up into a top 4 pick. I'm sorry, the Hawks at 8. The Kings slip. They had top 5 odds. They fall down to 7. So we know the Grizz move up now. The Brooklyn Nets, again, they just can't get it, man. They're at number 6. It's still a deep draft. That means Danny Ainge and the Jazz move up. So either the Wizards or the Pacers are falling out. So the Clippers are going to get the Pacers pick. The Pacers will not keep their pick. Wow. Wow. A major blow to the Pacers. That is a major blow to the Pacers. That's what I talked about leading up to this. The Pacers, wow. The Pacers, that trade is going to come back to bite the Pacers in the ass. They tanked away the season to trade the pick for the Clippers. I mean, this played out as well as you could play it out. Because like I said, you were in a situation where if you were the Clippers and you had never traded away this pick, just to put it in proper perspective, you would have had the 12th pick this year, right? That pick obviously goes to OKC. That was part of the Paul George trade years ago. But if they had done nothing, they would have just had the 12th pick with nothing to build around. Getting the 5th pick actually puts them in position now for one of these. Like I said, this is, to me, it's really a 6-man draft. They get that pick. The Pacers get nothing. They tanked it away to get nothing. They had the second best odds. They fell out to the 5th spot, which now goes to the Clippers. That's all part of that trade for Zubac. That's a terrible situation for the Pacers right now. It was not worth it. Terrible, terrible situation for the Pacers. And now you're looking at Wiz, Jazz, Grizzlies, and Bulls. So out of those 4 teams, I would hope the Wizards get the number 1 pick. I'm gonna be honest. I would hope. Now the Jazz, I wouldn't mind it either. The Jazz have done some good things there. I think Danny Ainge is building some. The Jazz, the crazy part about it is they get the number 1 pick. AJ Devancer, without a doubt, is going to be the pick. He's a local guy. He went to BYU, played his high school ball out there as well. He goes there without a doubt. The question then would become, what do they do with those bigs they already have there, with Markkanen and with Jaren Jackson, who they just traded for last year? Because I don't think you would bring in Devancer and then keep those other 2 guys. Then Markkanen would become the trade piece. And would Markkanen end up now in Golden State? Would he be the move that Golden State would say, all right, with the 11th pick, we can't get the impact guy we need, but maybe we can flip the pick at 11 to go get Lauri Markkanen? So that would become the intrigue in that scenario if Utah wins this draft. So there's that. For the Wiz, I think everybody's on the board. If the Wiz win, the Banza, you could talk yourself into Peterson. I think Caleb Wilson, the DC area would love him. And when you put him in pick and rolls with Trae Young, they would fall in love with that kid very, very quickly. For the Grizz, like I said, is this the opportunity to get your new face of the franchise? Are you keeping Ja around? Are you moving on from Ja? What are you going to do in that scenario? They don't have to move on from Ja. I have just said that I think it's headed that way, and I've been saying that for at least 2 years now. When they traded Bane, I thought it was kind of the writing on the wall. Remember, they gave Jaren Jackson his contract shortly after. Excuse me. So I thought they were going to go that route and trade Ja anyway. Ja's still on that roster, so we got to see what they're going to do there. We're waiting for it to come back from commercial break. Once it does, we're going to be wrapping up once we know what this draft lottery is looking like for June, of course. And like I said, for tonight, I like Knicks -1.5. I like Spurs I like Minnesota +4.5. That's where the line stands right now. I'm going to log back in, just double check, make sure there's been no changes on that. I think the Knicks win. I think they win pretty convincingly today, and I think Minnesota will win. And still Knicks 1.5. Well, hold on, why is it not showing all the games? It's 5.5 for Minnesota. I would even do an alter line. I'm gonna put the Knicks up to 4.5. I'll put them at 3.5. It's still plus money, plus 112. And we're gonna combine that. We're gonna adjust the Timberwolves. We're gonna bump them up to about, let's see, maybe 8.5. Buy them a little more room. Though I think, like I said, I think they win tonight, but almost a safety net of it. Yeah, we do plus 8.5 is 166. All right, let's see what the picks are. So the Bulls are 4. Still a great move for the Bulls. You jumped up. You originally projected to be 9th. You went 4. Memphis goes to 3. So now here's the big intrigue here. Jazz, DC, who's getting the Jazz at number 2. So the Wizards win. And I think if you're the Wizards, this has played out perfectly for the Washington Wizards to make the moves they made in the regular season, to now land the number 1 pick. you have immediately put yourself in position to be pretty good very, very quickly. Shout out to the whole DC area. Shout out to the DC area. You guys should be excited. You guys, you guys are gonna get a great player. Shout out to my man Will Gordon. I know he was his fan. Shout out to my man Rand Lewis. I know they're happy about it. We're gonna wrap up on that note. I will see you guys tomorrow, 7 p.m. sharp. Real fans, real talk, as we will be recapping this lottery and the games today as well as tomorrow. Shout out to all the supporters. Shout out to the comment section. Shout out to everybody who's coming in and out the live on Instagram as well. I peeped you guys. Greatly appreciate it. With that being said, I'm Eric Sanchez, aka Legend of Two Games. This was the Sanchez Show on a Sunday. See you guys tomorrow, and then we're back Wednesday with the Sanchez Show again on Wednesday. Tomorrow is Real Fans, Real Talk, 7 p.m. Have a great night, guys. Enjoy the games. Happy Mother's Day again.